Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups and their limited beliefs. And one of the reasons I help people with their limited beliefs also is it's part of the reason you're having a lot of trouble with your breakup. You as an individual, standing alone post-breakup, dealing with your limited beliefs is what's making it a lot more difficult to get through the breakup with some clarity. So let's get into how porn addiction destroys men's brains by Andrew Huberman here, who I respect a lot and I've done some other reactions with, and how that weaves in with breakup recovery. Because a lot of times, let's face it, some people are watching more porn after a breakup. So let's get into it.
Issue with pornography, which is not often discussed, which is that, remember, guys in particular, the brain is a learning prediction machine. And if I'm not trying to say that all pornography is bad, but there are good data to support the idea that if your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it is not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else, right? Especially young kids who are consuming a lot of pornography, the brain is learning sexual arousal to other people having sex.
So you're going to program yourself into being a voyeur?
Or just create challenges in sexual interactions with a real partner. Right?
Mary Harrington has the 3 laws of pornodynamics, and the second law of pornodynamics is the law of FAP entropy. And it says that whatever you start out wanking to will get progressively more intense over time. And I think that this is sort of speaking to that ever sort of escalating amount of the wildness that you need to watch in order to get an ever decreasing stimulus that comes back.
Yeah, and here I'm approaching this only through the lens of biology, right? I'm not a psychologist, and I'm certainly not political in any way. At least not. I have ideas about politics, but I just don't discuss them publicly. But the idea here is that I'm not saying pornography as a stimulus is bad or good. What I'm saying is it, in its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus, and very potent stimuli of any kind, extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. And Anna will tell you that, and I'm sure she did, that the higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not.
So let's just think about that. Post-breakup, you're in it. You're literally in sorrow, lack of intimacy, and you decide to turn on a little porn, right? And what you're doing, like he said, is actually creating a situation where you want more of that, but you also come down from it because it's such a high. But on the flip side also, you're training yourself to have passive releases, if you will. You're training yourself to watch rather than do. And so if you haven't done this in a while, and then let's just layer on top of that the fact that you're out of a breakup, you're not going to date for a little while, you're licking your wounds, right? And then you get into a bad porn habit, or you escalate your porn, and then when you want to start dating again 2 months, 3 months down the road, 6 weeks down the road, and you've been doing that for a long time, you're going to be removed a little bit more, or you're going to have probably less patience to date someone when you can just go home and get that quick release, if you will, right? And so this is how that correlates with a breakup. Going back to what he said, the idea that you're actually training yourself to be a voyeur, if that's how you say that word, it's true, right? And so it's going to affect your dating life. It also really affects, and I've talked to men directly about this, the expectations of the type of woman that they want, because they're watching these porn videos that have these women that they quote unquote call a 10, and then they're not willing to go out with women that they think are below who they just virtually hooked up with, right? So put it in the comments below. Let me know your views on this video and how it intertwines with, being in a breakup and whatnot. And do you think that people elevate watching porn post-breakup? Good question.
Not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline. So again, it's not, these things aren't good or bad. They just have to be controlled in a way, because when people are pursuing dopamine peaks over and over and over and they aren't getting them, typically it's because they've been pursuing that activity far too often.
And you're saying perhaps take a break from that, and there may be an ability for yourself, your system, to reset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, all the things that we're talking about with pornography could be superimposed onto food, or could be superimposed onto real sex, right? That one also has to be cautious there, right? But the cycling back and forth between dopamine and low dopamine states, dopamine fasting as it were, but maybe just low dopamine states, these are natural rhythms that existed in the nervous system. We have to remember what the dopaminergic system is there for. I'll say it again, I wasn't consulted at the design phase, but we know as a generic form of motivation and pursuit, you can imagine the human or the animal that's hungry or thirsty. It needs energy to go pursue the thing. So the idea that you have to eat in order to get energy, that's true, but you need energy in order to get the thing to eat. So our nervous system has energy also, that's dopamine and epinephrine. Yes, we use glucose and glycogen, et cetera, when we're pursuing things, but the idea here is you're pursuing something, and then either by smell or by sight, you think you're on the right track. So you go down that track, and then, there it is. You get some berries, or you get, let's get prehistoric about this, or you get to kill the prey and eat it, and then it gives you energy to continue this pursuit or to reproduce. I mean, there's a reason why humans and other animals seek out reproduction, is that every species, but certainly humans, have two innate desires built into them. Whether or not they decide to actualize this or not is the desire to protect young and make more of its own species. Every successful species does that. Even if people don't have children, in general, people care about children because of what they represent. Very few people dislike children. I mean, there are a few mutants out there that dislike children, but
all right, he's getting off the topic a little bit here. Bottom line is, if you're in a situation where you're overwatching porn, right, it's going to be one of those things where you're not going to value interactive relationships with the person that you normally pursue, right? So whether that's man, woman, woman, man, man to man, whatever. If you're able to get a quick fix, and it's almost like alcohol or drugs in the sense that that's a quick fix to happiness for you, but it's a hard fall. Right? The way this affects you, though, post-breakup, or you're in a dry spell, or you haven't dated in a long time, and it really does affect if you haven't, and this corresponds a lot with guys like, oh, the women aren't good these days, oh, I don't even want to try. It's like, well, what have you been doing at home with the Kleenex box next to your computer, right? Okay? I've been to people's houses, and they got a Kleenex box next to the computer, and there's like, and they don't have a cold, right? So the idea that you do that, no judgment, right? But it is going to affect your dating life. It is going to affect you post-breakup, because what happens is you're not going to put as much effort into dating or finding a mate, if you will, if you're being satisfied artificially. Now, the one thing that I'll recommend is I'll say either cut it back, or instead of doing your thing, right? Instead of masturbation, which is a word that's just so technical and a word I've never liked. But if you're going to be doing that, use your imagination instead, and think about individuals that you actually would be able to get intimate with, or someone that's from your past rather than someone that's on a screen. I think that changes the dynamic of it. It actually helps your visualization. And if it's someone you're dating, maybe that helps you get more motivated. All kinds of things, I think, are more helpful in that light than actually, sitting down next to the computer and dropping a couple batches every 2 hours, right? And it just doesn't help you in the dating field. And really, to get over a breakup, which is what I help people with, right? Or if you're in a dry spell and you're looking to date again, having a porn addiction and not being aware of it is absolutely detrimental to getting out of that, because you're just killing your motivation to get back out there. And then this is where people create narratives like, oh, all these dating apps suck. Oh, all this, there's no women out there for me. And it's like, yeah, then they go home and they pleasure themselves and they do it again and again. Right. And so, does it mean there's no place for this? No, you can do it when you want. Just like anything else. Too much of anything that makes you extremely happy and especially it's artificially creating intimacy, right? This isn't real. You're not going to be with that woman that you see on the screen or that guy you see on the screen if you're a woman watching this, right? So I hope that helps you. Please put some comments if you think differently than my views or Huberman's views. I mean, this is a hot topic, literally.